security challenges have actually continued to evolve from terrorism and banditry to kidnapping, communal violence, organized crime, and other emerging threats. Against this backdrop, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has directed the immediate preparation of a comprehensive national threat assessment and a rolling 5-year strategic defense operations plan. The proposed framework is expected to identify Nigeria's major threats, rank them according to urgency, determine the capabilities required to confront them, and guide defense operations, spending, and procurement over the medium term. An 11-member committee has been set up and has been given 90 days to complete the assignment. And of course, Nigerians have been, having this security policies, before now, and Nigerians are reacting whether this time this plan is really going to work. In the next 5 years, what this means is that whether the security situation in the country is going to change, and how that is going to be is part of what we'll be discussing today on New Dawn on Ogun State Television. And joining us to do justice to this particular topic, we have the Commander of Ogun State, Amotekun Corps, Brigadier General Alade Adedigba, retired. Thank you so much for joining us on the program.
Thank you very much for having me.
I won't be doing this alone. My colleague is here in the studio, Taiwo Fabadri.
Good morning, Nigerians, and Brigadier General Adedigba, retired. Welcome to the studio once again. Let me start with when we talk about 5-year strategic defense plan. As a security expert who has been in this business for a long time, what exactly are we talking about for to a layman, ordinary Nigerian who might not understand what it is when we talk about strategic defense plan? What does it really mean?
Yeah, thank you very much for having me, and talking specifically to the subject matter. You can't be talking about this 5-year strategic plan without talking about the comprehensive national security assessment that brought about the 5 years strategic defense plan. There are 2 variables that need to be actually addressed for proper understanding. And the first one is the national threat assessment, and then the 5-year strategic defense plan that you talk about. The first one is the national threat assessment. That is national. You must know what your threats are. And that's exactly why you cannot talk about the solution towards that. And what are we talking about here? The first one is that what threatens Nigeria? You must know what threatens Nigeria. Where you can talk about the solution to that. And how serious are these threats? You must ask. Knowing how serious they are, how are they evolving? What brings about all these threats? And what are the vulnerabilities? And then the next we talk about what are the priorities to pay attention to these threats. This is national, no doubt. Then the defense plan, that is defense specific. And when you talk about that, you not talk about how does the defense sector plan to sort this out. Then you talk about the issue of operational objectives. What are the military tasks? What are the force capability and the requirements to ultimately deal with all this? So if you put this side by side, you cannot look at why the issue of 5-year strategic plans comes into being. And that's why I said one is national, where the other is defense specific.
Okay, this is an interesting angle, talking about the assessment now. When you check what is currently happening in the Northeast, we have it started with the Boko Haram, and they were talking about the need for them to, instigate or institute a caliphate. And of course, they said, Western education is prohibited, sort of. You check the Northwest as well, you have banditry, kidnapping, the involvement of that. You have the ransom, kidnapping for ransom taking place there. You recently have the Lako Rawa group also coming out. Their own agenda is similar to that of Boko Haram. When you check the Middle Belt as well, you have Niger and Kwara banditry, and of course kidnapping is also one of the things they are battling there. But of course, before we continue, before I ask my question, I think we have to do a short break for the second guest, who is a peace scholar, to join this conversation.
Dear good people of Ogun State, there are moments in the life of a people when destiny calls for vigilance, unity, and collective resolve. This is one of those moments. The steady influx of industries and investors into Ogun State is the result of the peace, stability, and security we have worked hard to build together. This progress belongs to all of us, and we must protect it. We will not allow terrorists, bandits, kidnappers, or any criminal elements to undermine the peace and prosperity of our dear state. As a government, we have strengthened our security architecture through sustained support for our security agencies. This has enhanced intelligence gathering and improved their coordination. We have also repositioned the Ogun State Amotekun Corps, working closely with neighboring states, including Lagos. Operation Kusaye has further demonstrated our unwavering resolve and commitment to confronting crime and ensuring that Ogun State remains unsafe for criminals. However, security is a shared responsibility. Every citizen has a role to play. If you see something, say something. Report every suspicious movement or activity promptly to the appropriate security authorities. Your vigilance can save lives and protect our communities. I also join our President, Bola Ahmed Tinubu GCFR, the Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of the Federal Republic, in calling on all Nigerians to stand united against terrorism and every form of criminality. Let us choose vigilance over indifference, courage over fear, and unity over division. Together, we will protect our communities, preserve our peace, and keep Ogun State safe, secure, and prosperous for generations to come. Let us all unite against terror. God bless Ogun State. God bless the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
All right, you're welcome back. This is still the New Dawn, the interview segment of New Dawn this morning. And of course, we're looking at the 5-year strategic defense plan being ordered by the president. We earlier introduced our guest in the studio, Brigadier General Adia Didigba, retired, the commander of Ogun State Amotekun Corps. We're now being joined by a peace scholar, peace and conflict resolution advocate, who's a member of the Society for Peace Studies and Practice. Coincidentally, the two of them are members of the Society for Peace Studies and Practice, Dr. Demolu Okunaye. Thank you so much for being our guest today on the program.
Thank you, and nice being here.
All right, I was trying to build, my question, and of course, General Didigba, it's important to talk about those background. Can you tell us your reaction when the president immediately said there is need for an assessment, before, of course, talking about the 5-year strategic plan? As somebody that understands what that translates to, what was your first reaction to that?
Well, I think it was a fantastic development, because over the years, I've always been having this impression that there was supposed to be a political will to resolving the present situation concerning conflicts in Nigeria. The situation right now is so terrible that Nigeria is affected in all areas of human endeavor. And there's no doubt that that political will is very essential, because what we've been hearing in the past few years have been somehow rhetorics. A situation where we will hear that the army had arrested or even killed a number of this and that. A situation where we continue to hear concerning the acquisition of weapons. A situation where we continue to say that the terrorists or some of these people involved in various areas of insecurity have either kidnapped or killed people. Without a political will, there's no how that this nation can actually move forward in resolving this issue. The fact that the president had sort of made it mandatory, and especially having a target, 90 days, for the resolution of this, or for recommendation towards achieving this, I think it's a great effort, and they should be commended. It shows how visionary the president can be, and it shows how dedicated, especially when you talk about peace and development. And it shows that Nigerians still have hope, because in a situation where Nigeria is ranked 148 in peace index and 6th in global terrorism index, is actually not palatable.
All right. General, can we also take that?
His reaction.
Okay, his reaction.
Yeah, thank you very much for that. You know, there are so many defense and security-related documents that are in place. And the normal recommendation is that after every 5 years, those documents should be reviewed. Do you understand? Because the security or insecurity phase is very dynamic. Because, and that is the essence of why I said the 5-year strategic defense plan goes along with the threat assessment. The face of threats, or what threatens Nigeria some 5 years ago, is not what we're having now, just as you enumerated earlier. For example, for some, say, 5, 10 years ago, not all the entire nations have one ad hoc, security outfit or the other. The issue of kidnapping in the Southwest was not an issue. But whether you like it or not, there are some elements of that so that will tell you that the whole thing is changing. And based on that, we need to, from time to time, assess what threatens Nigeria. What's our capability? How vulnerable are we? And what are those things that we have, to actually prosecute this? And that is the essence of that 5-year strategic plan. So it's very timely, there's no doubt about that. And if you take some of those documents I mentioned earlier, you have what is called National Security Strategy. We have the Nigerian Security Defense Policy. We have the Cyber Security Terrorism Strategy. And so there are all these, and most of these are such that after 5 years, they should be reviewed. So now situating the threat assessment into this means that if those documents are still valid, you understand, it means we cannot do our threat assessment and this will still serve. And it may come such that both the contemporary security documents will be assessed or reviewed in line with the 5-year security defense plan the Mr. President has mandated the committee to do. So for me, it is just spot on.
Dr. Oknoye, let's look at the names of the Levelman Committee. Are you satisfied? I know there are some gladiators when you talk about in terms of security, a lot of security experts who have always been in the scene. And now, are you satisfied with the names of, we have Nuri Badu, are you satisfied with the names, number one? And also, do you, from what you've read about this, do you think it captures many of the salient threats, security threats we currently have, we are battling with in Nigeria?
Well, there is no doubt that the composition of that team is somehow very powerful. You have, just as mentioned, Ribadu and others who are powerhouses of the security bodies in Nigeria. But I feel that that particular composition is supposed to be bigger than that. This situation concerning security goes beyond just the military. To have restricted the membership to military and related groups is somehow not in the best interest of this nation, because the issue of peacekeeping or peace enforcement and those stuff goes beyond just the military. It goes beyond combat, a situation where you attack. It goes beyond the kinetic situation where you just believe that it's just the military. I was actually thinking that the presidency will have also involved a good number of some very relevant bodies or individuals. There's nothing stopping the presidency from including some very relevant NGOs that could actually look at things from holistic perspective. You have the military, yes, and they are the majority in that particular group. But then there are some other people too, like even traditional rulers. Traditional rulers can actually play a vital role, especially in this fight against insecurity. And similarly, we have even the people generally, the people, and then some academics that could actually come in and also offer the other side of ways to actually resolve this issue. Whether we like it or not, the issue of information, or there's this particular slang in Nigeria, when you see something, say something. People who notice some developments are mostly the people within the town, and people who also get information concerning developments in a town include the traditional rulers. Why not involve the traditional rulers as part of this team to actually see where and how they can also be relevant to this scheme? Because this situation right now is a very serious one, because whether you like it or not, it is affecting the nation's economy, it's affecting the nation's social system, it's affecting even political system and everything. So I will actually love a situation where this body is enlarged by involving some members of the NGOs, or also traditional rulers, or even some other relevant people who can actually do some analysis and also present areas of need, in order to actually combine the kinetic and non-kinetic perspectives to resolving the present situation or challenges in the country.
Okay, thank you so much. General, we would also like to look at what the country has been doing in terms of securing the nation and, of course, reacting to the dynamics of the security challenges. We've seen the establishment of the state policing system is still going through all kinds of, formation at the moment. But of course, that, is also to react to the dynamics of what we're experiencing. We've also seen the coordination that took place, especially during the school children kidnapping in your state. The coordination was superb. Nigerian security architecture was actually used or deployed. And they also talked about the establishment of another unit, the Homeland Security, where there's somebody that is coordinating that as well, in order to ensure that there is a form of unity in fighting terrorism and, of course, all the emerging security threats in the country. Are you confident that these initiatives that have been deployed before now is really going to be a long-lasting one beyond the 5-year tenure or 5-year plan that is also going to be put in place?
Thank you very much. Let me just make additional comment to what Doctor said earlier. You see, there is when you talk about the committee that's set up, there is no way you can capture. There are so many interested elements, individual organizations that are supposed to be part of that team, but they cannot all be captured at once. Don't forget that the the key element there is threat assessment. So, you know, if you have more than enough individuals on the table for now, it may be a bit difficult. But what they're going to do now is that come up with something that we can continue, we can work on it. Don't forget, in that term of reference, the committee were told to invite any other individual, any group that are key and have contributions to make. So I want to believe that those individuals may not be able to do that alone. They're going to form some other, you know, strategic committees or subcommittees within the committee to work with them. So I want to say that we should just leave it the way it is, that every individual have opportunity, organization, for example, have, you know, opportunity to contribute. And that is why there's that clause that the committee should be, invite any other group, individuals that are actually key to that. I don't feel I should keep that in. Now, in terms of what has been deployed, you know, and maybe the issue of the state policing and everything, I keep telling people that, look, all these subnational, you know, interventions that we have, for example, in the Southwest, you talk about Amotekun. These are subnational interventions. What is the job of Amotekun? It's basically state policing in another name. So what the federal government has done or is trying to do by breaking, you know, the police into maybe the federal police system and the state police is basically to unify, strengthen, and come up with a common, you know, umbrella under which all these subnational, you know, intervention, you know, agencies can fall into, such that what is happening in the south or southeast is what is happening in the southwest, as against one going this way and the other one going the other way. So we are going to have a common form of training, common remuneration, you know, issue of policy, issue of how do you move from the state police to federal police and all that. But when you don't have that common umbrella, it becomes difficult. But what we are doing, what the state police is going to do is not different from what, you know, Amotekun and other form of security agencies at the subnational level are doing. And then, like I said, the 5-year strategic defense plan is not really, it's not cast in stone. That after 5 years, we must achieve all this. No. It's a matter of saying, just like I told you, that there are some defense security documents that we have. And the essence of keeping a policy longer than necessary is because of the changing face of insecurity, you know, that may come up. You know, the security and insecurity face is very dynamic. Because what is, like you said, what, you know, happened some 5 years ago is not what is happening now. A lot of this, and like I mentioned earlier, the issue of kidnapping in the Southwest wasn't there. But because you can see that most of these guys are being fired, you know, across the entire nation. So they are looking for safe havens. And that is why we say Ogun State is not a place for any criminal. And that is why you are seeing a series of activities and operations going on in the state. So not so that we don't give them a safe haven here. So it's to tell you that the threat is ever emerging. It's dynamic. So the idea is after 5 years, we sit down again. Where are we? Where have we been? What have we achieved? Even in terms of equipment. Some equipment that we used some 5 years ago, maybe today are obsolete. You now think of, no, let's change the type of drones we have. Let's change the way we... So that's just exactly what it is. But that does not mean that after 5 years, everything should... You understand? That is just the idea. Just to give us a timeline to see that after 5 years, we review what we have done. Are we good to go? Or do we need to bring some other things on board? Basically, that is it.
Dr. Okneye, to achieve this, do you think we need to, just like Brigadier General mentioned, review, do you think we need to do this or review or look at this holistically alongside some of our neighboring countries? Now, because this whatever we are going through, it's not basically only an internal, security issue. We know the contribution of some of these borders linking to Nigeria, in terms of security threats. Do you think we should be doing this alone, not considering some of, other areas where we have to, fill up to ensure that, we reduce all these security issues?
Thank you so much. One of the major problems of Nigeria is the fact that we have a very porous border. and migration is not seriously tackled. There are issues concerning developments even within our environment, apart from the fact that even on regional basis and even continental basis, take a look at what happened in Libya. Take a look at what happened in Nigeria and other parts of the world. One way or the other, we've been so negligent in our approach to sort of tackling this particular area. We have what we call the early warning signs in peace and conflict resolution. And almost on an everyday basis, you see developments. And these developments are actually to ginger you up to say, oh, let's take precautionary measure and prevent this. The system that Nigeria had always been adapting is more of reactive. We are actually supposed to actually be preventive. So a situation where such a war occurred in Chad, in Libya, and other parts, even take a look at Mali, and we just relaxed and feel that there was nothing wrong in things happening over there. Some of those weapons there have been found to have found their way into Nigeria. And some people, you even take a look at even our environment here. You talk about the Okada riders. Most of them are not Nigerians. One recently, just projected one criminal act, where I was, and I could see. He even told me he was not a Nigerian. He was from this and that. But then, those are the type of people we found in Nigeria. So such a person, how would it occur that at the end of the day, such a person will not do worse than what he had done? And so there are so many of them in Nigeria that had found their ways into the country that are also very threatening to the security and peaceful existence of this country. We must actually be preventive. We should actually not be reactive when it comes to security issue.
Okay, Doctor, it's important to stress that point that you've just raised now. We should be proactive, and part of the proactiveness that is required is largely that, when I remember the former Chief of Army Staff, General Buratai, he also mentioned something like that. It's not just about policing. It's not just about buying weapons. It's not just about talking about the styles. What exactly are they going to be doing using guns to fight this insecurity? That there are more things on the side of others, others that have responsibilities in terms of keeping the peace of Nigeria, which of course are the political leaders as well. So if all these plans were to go well, what more do you think the political leaders should also do to ensure that they meet at the same center or at the center of solving the problems of security challenges?
Well, it's just like what I said earlier. Fighting insecurity goes beyond just connected measures, and it also goes beyond combative approach. Let's get to the roots of the situation. What are the challenges? Oftentimes, or most times, we address the surface. We address what we are saying. Let's fight. Let's fight. Let's do this. Let's do that. But then there are some very serious developments that have sort of led to some of these developments. We talk about governance. Some people are just not. They feel they are not included. They seek for inclusiveness in the society, and some people have this impression that there's the issue of poverty. They feel they could not afford, and in order to sort of belong, they must also be very brave. There is nothing bad as going into a very risky situation to achieve whatever you want. In the north there, we have seen some bandit leaders being recognized and being honored also. And even in this part of the country.
Are you sure of what you said?
Yeah. We have seen this one that was honored in Katsina State, and was later declared declared wanted.
Okay.
And we have seen where he was honored and those stuff. So poverty must be addressed, inclusiveness must be addressed, justice is very essential. The need to also look at the people generally. How can we actually improve the well-being of the people is very essential. So political leadership is very essential in our efforts at combating and ensuring peaceful existence within this country and remove or reduce insecurity seriously.
Brigadier Adedigba, some people are not optimistic about this plan, and they've raised the issue of the complexity of the Nigerian security challenges, and also issue of communal clashes, farmers' elders crisis, and that is why they are saying they are not so optimistic, because if some of these things are not really resolved, we'll still continue to have some security challenges, agitation, and all. Do you also think along this line that this 5-year plan might not really, work out as planned because of some of these peculiarity, unresolved peculiarities?
Yeah, thank you very much. If you go back to what I said earlier, I said this 5-year strategic plan is not cast in stone. But basically, just to give us, it's like when you don't give a boundary, time limit, as to when you want to achieve a particular objective, it becomes, it thinks if it can take you another 100 years to do that. No. And that's why I said you must look at this 5-year defense plan along with the threat assessment. Now, going back to what Doctor said earlier, if you talk about the issue of Libya, Mali, and all that, what was the situation of Nigeria and ECOWAS, some of the ECOWAS states before now? Do you understand? Don't forget that about 3 or 4 states, countries, actually are now under military rule, they break away. Things are not the same. So if they are not the same, you need to analyze that. You need to look at all that. And the issue of Mali, the issue of Libya, that has been there from if you go to the multinational joint task force, from that axis of the north. So the issue is that doing the threat assessment is holistically looking at what are the things that threatens Nigeria. That is what we're talking about here. And that's exactly the assignment the government, the Mr. President has given the committee. Let's look at what threatens Nigeria now was not threatens Nigeria some 5 years ago or some 10 years ago. So the face is changing. And because it's changing, it means we have to change with it. That is what brought about the threat assessment in the first instance. And it's also okay, let's get to know those things. And when we get to know those things, okay, let's give ourselves 5 years, come up with a 5-year strategic plan to deal with this. So let's wait and see. But don't forget that as you are doing that, when you talk about a policy, when you come up with a policy, what's the next thing? You implement. When you implement, you reassess. Because in the course of your implementation, there might be issues along the line. You assess. When you assess, so after about 5 years, you now say, look, is this policy or this strategy, is it working? If it's working, if it's not working, what do you really need to do? So that's why you now go back to the drawing board, you rejig it or reassess, and you continue. So for me, the 5 years strategic defense plan is not that maybe after 5 years it ends there. So whatever the security challenges we are facing, be it farmer conflict, banditry, and all that, we are saying, are we doing the right thing?
Okay,
if yes, continue. If no, what again can we bring on board to change the face of all this? Basically, that is the issue.
Okay, talking about what we've been doing so far, we have responsibilities of the different security agencies, and some are saying that the military is overstretched. You brought the military into the domestic affairs, domestic security of Nigeria. Of course, they have the responsibility to actually, prepare and of course protect Nigeria against external forces. And now we have 4 more divisions created just to increase the response time to security challenges. And yes, there are some other people that talked about the police. and how these responsibilities being, being carried by the military now are originally supposed to be by the police. But of course, they talked about the training, adequate training, the challenges of the police system that we have in place right now. I don't know if this plan would also look into that area where, the people saddled with such responsibilities to protect the internal security of the country are actually the ones trained enough, or they get the right training that would actually deal with that issue holistically.
Yeah, thank you very much. Just like Riley said, according to the Constitution, the military has its roles and responsibility, which is external, to deal with the external aggression, against the state, while the police is to deal with the internal whatever. But it's, what is happening is a child of necessity. If the police has actually been there to do what they're supposed to do in terms of equipment, in terms of manpower and all that, the military will not be there. There's always the procedure of how the military can, actually intervene in any internal affairs. But it's just because of the overwhelming security challenges that we have. It is not that the military is having to do all this. Do you understand? But if we now kind of retrace our steps, if the military is now empowered in terms of equipment, the police now, you can imagine, you are aware that the police, the Mr. President has actually asked the police to increase, to recruit more. If they recruit more, their equipment, they are empowered both in terms of salaries and all that. The police will perform. And once the police, based on this new threat, as okay, good. This aspect, like the doctor mentioned earlier, we were talking about the issue of maybe a porous border. Whose job is that? There's an agency that is designated to do that. So if they're empowered to do that, they will do that. Look at the issue of vandalism. Whose job is to take care of vandalism? There's an agency that is. So it's not about military being everywhere, not at all. So, but this issue
what I'm saying is, can this assessment also capture those realities that the way we've been responding to issues, the people responding to different issues now? You talked about the overwhelming nature of the security challenges, which of course is why the military can't just come if there is no need for them. And that is why they are doing their job as well. So I'm looking at this new assessment that we are doing. Should it capture the very essence of these responsibilities as well, to be able to at least, the overwhelming nature of it is not going to be on one institution, agency, and everybody would be able to work according to their constitutional mandate.
That's exactly what I was saying, that the assessment is holistic. It's not about military alone. It's about the military, the police, the civil, all agency that has to do with the security of the state, both external and internal. Everybody is involved. And that's I even again said earlier that the Mr. President said the community should invite any other organization or individual that have a role to play. So by the time you do this threat assessment, you are doing the assessment vis-a-vis who is going to play what role. Do you understand? Which I think speaks to your question. So by the time you go, okay, porous border, okay, Nigerian Immigration Service. Okay, what are the threats? What are the requirements in terms of force? When I mean force, I'm talking about men, in terms of equipment, in terms of resources. That is done. Vandalism, which agency? Civil defense. What are those things that are required? That is being placed. Internal security, that is the business of police. So the threat assessment will bring out those threats, those vulnerabilities, the equipment required, the resources, the budgeting. That is what that's the whole essence of what this committee set out. And I tell you sincerely, it speaks to your question. And I don't know it's not about the military. No. So even the civil, even the traditional rulers, like the doctor mentioned earlier. Okay, this one let's leave it to our traditional rulers. This one let's leave it to CDAs. So the traditional assessment will go to that extent. Allotting force capabilities, allotting budget requirements and all that. And of course, the National Assembly have been carried along too, because they will see exactly what threatens Nigeria and what is the requirement in terms of resources, in terms of equipment, what are we buying, what are we not buying, in terms of recruitment. You can imagine recruiting, the military recruiting about 2-3 times a year, the police recruiting the same thing. So all this costs money. How about the subnationals intervention? Before I was there, I'm in the Southwest, of course not. And the state government not spending money, they're spending enormously on the various security apparatus of the state, in terms of equipment, in terms of men recruitment, in terms of equipment, in terms of logistics. So if you assess all this holistically, they will not be able to say, good, this is where we are going, having known what threatens us. So it's not about looking at either farmers' sketches, clashes, equal banditry. No, that is the threat that we talk about.
All right, Dr. Okneye, let's look at the 90 days, duration or time frame given to this committee. Do you think it's enough, or do you think that they need more time? We've talked about a lot of things here. We've talked and the peculiarities of the complexity of the Nigerian security challenges. 90 days. Do you think possibly it should be enough for this committee, or is it too much? Maybe 1 month, because of the fact that this insecurity is still on, and life is being lost every day. Maybe just 1 month should be enough for them to do some of these things. What's your take?
When you take a look at the committee and the people that are made up of the committee, you realize that these are capable, experienced, and very reliable and productive people. In terms of experience, they have all the necessary information. You will not believe it that some of them can actually solve these problems within a short period with some recommendations. And just as General said earlier, they still have the opportunity to invite people to be part of the entire deliberation and data gathering and those stuff. 90 days, yes, it could look very long, very maybe too much, but I feel that for a better job, for a good job to be carried out, 90 days could actually really be very, very okay. I'm very sure you are in a hurry, because just like many Nigerians, everybody is in a hurry. We want a better environment, and we want something that could actually be productive. Don't forget, the political system campaigns started in August, and these campaigns are also areas of need concerning security. And also, there will be election in January. So when we talk about 3 months now, that's August, September, October. And so this period, I think, will be good enough to sort of address the challenges, because there's no doubt that Nigeria needs this peace a lot, and we want the best for our country. 90 days is okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, talking about this particular plan, I think it's important to also talk about the expectation of Nigerians. Nigerians want a country that is safer for them. They want a country that they can trust. The issue of corruption is also part of the challenges that we're talking about when you have any discussion on security challenges. Are you sure this particular assessment, and of course the plan, is also going to take care of that aspect?
Yes, when you talk about, like I said, insecurity is multifaceted, and there's no way you can, divorce issue of corruption from what we are going through. Because if money meant for certain projects, developmental projects are not channeled to the right place, of course it will bring about, to fuel insecurity. There's no doubt about that. But for me, just like we all agree, that at least for once, let's give, let's do the right thing. So whether, things are being done in one way or the other, that's not a problem. But now that's okay, let's draw a line. And when we are drawing a line, let's now see, if we now say, look, corruption, whether you like it, is one of those things that threatens Nigeria. Do you understand? And it's and we are vulnerable. It means it will be part of what the committee will come up with. Then if that is the case, a lot of, don't forget that there will be a lot of the assessment, there will be recommendations towards how most of these things can be addressed. I remember there was a time when somebody, some years back, somebody was asked that this person, misappropriates resources. And another person say, no, that's not misappropriation, it's a misapplication. So you understand, that means that to tell you that there's a difference between misappropriation and misapplication. But this is a matter of semantics. So the fact is that the committee will be able to come up with, look, this is part of what we have seen, and this is what we are recommending. And I want to tell you that the 90 days, like we said, before it was happening, 90 days is gone. So many subcommittees will be formed by this main committee. And by the time you sit down in a week or two to come up with something, it's not easy to come up with a job of this nature. But one good thing is that those defense policy documents, security that I told you we can build on them. They'll be a good reference material. You understand? We can leverage those ones so that we are not going to, within 90 days, they can come up with a very good job. And people that will be invited, you all will be either going to Abuja or you'll be going from one place to the other. It's not easy. But within 90 days, a lot can come up. And I think issue of corruption and all that, of course, will come into light. And again, I want to believe that the recommendation towards that area and yes, that's the address.
Brigadier General, Dr. Okunoye mentioned, people, some of the give instances of some associations or people that should also have been in that committee, which you said maybe they will make up the subcommittee, traditional rulers. For you, who should also be part of possibly the subcommittee? We have the commander of state commander of Amotekun in Ogun State. Maybe people like you or state commanders in other states beyond the southwest states, that we have some of these state organized security agencies. Do you also think people like you should be considered in the subcommittee, and even beyond, and other people? Do you think that should make up the subcommittee, if there will be a place for that?
Yeah, thank you very much. On talking seriously now, I think for me, that committee is very adequate. And the good thing is that there is that clause. A committee where you have the IG, the service chiefs, Minister of Defense, whatever they come up with, we are going to work with their own products. Do you know what I mean by product? Whatever they come up with, our own is to implement.
But they are not in Ogun State. They don't know. They might understand the peculiarity of what is that, but you know more. And some of the state commanders, they know more. Vigilante groups, they are the ones that go in there, grassroots, know more. Are these people, are they supposed to be beyond you? Are they not supposed to make the subcommittees?
Yes, that's exactly what you are talking about.
Even we're talking about the peace committee, the peace which you belong. Are they not supposed to be? But I'm just giving instances.
We are saying this. That is what I'm saying. That it's not about me. Do you understand? It's about the fact that, don't forget, I don't want to mention names on air. There are some of our leaders in the SPSP that you talk about, that when certain committees have been set up in Nigeria in the area of security, they invite them. That you may not see their names on paper. Do you understand? Okay. That's why I'm saying that there's no way Mr. President will set up a kind of committee like this and you have about 100 or 200. No, this is not jamboree. You understand? There will be that arrowhead. These individuals are just the arrowhead. And there's something the military will come up with. You understand? Or the IG. The IG represent for, we are talking about state. I said what we are doing in Ogun State, basically, or Amotekun, is basically state policing. And when you have an IG in a committee, then who is that person again? With due respect, do you understand? The best they will ask is that, can we have your input? Do you understand? And are you telling me that, are you saying they are not going to ask for our input? Even if they don't ask, we can come up with an input and send to them, and they make use of them. So it's not about, Adedigba or Amotekun commander, your Ogun being there. No, that's not the issue here. Okay. But I'm telling you, a lot of individuals at this level are going to form part of those subcommittees, or they will request for papers and contribution from us, which we are going to oblige them.
All right, Dr. Okunoye, this is not the first time we're having, the presidents coming up with, initiatives that would bring the entire country together. Of course, this is about security. How sure are you, or how certain are you that this time around, the story will be different for good?
Well, I feel that we should first look at how serious the threat has been, especially concerning the well-being of Nigeria or the peaceful coexistence of Nigeria. Whether we like it or not, trillions of naira that are supposed to be used for infrastructural development are being diverted to security issue. There is this issue of the effect on the political system, even on the president. You see people almost on everyday basis accusing him of not really acting or doing something. And I must tell you that the issue of the decision to even take this measure is one of the best that he has ever made. It is a political will, and when the political will is there, believe that everything is solved. And so when I heard about it, I was actually very happy. I knew that Nigeria is getting to where we're actually getting to.
All right, and General Adesiba, can you tell us if there is one thing you would like the committee to do or to be included? What exactly would that thing be rather?
Me, I'm very conscious, of, yes, conversant with those defense security documents that we have. And I tell you sincerely, most of them are actually, in their 5 years, validity. So me, I'm happy that those documents will be reviewed, in line with the threat assessment. Because if you have those documents and you did, if you assess the threats you're having and the vulnerability, and the parent documents that will drive that process and are obsolete, it becomes a problem. So I'm seeing about 3 or 4 documents that will be reviewed. You understand, going with this, whatever. So for me, it's timely, and I tell you sincerely, by the time they finish their job, a lot of things will change.
All right, we have to go because of our time.
Of course, we've been having conversations with very prominent people in the security sector. We have the commander of Ogun State Amotekun Corps, Brigadier General Alade Adidigba, retired. Thank you so much for being our guest on the program and, of course, shedding more light on the security situation in the country.
Thank you for having me.
We have also been discussing with the Peace and Conflict Resolution Advocate, Dr. Demolu Okuneye. Thank you so much for being our guest.
Thank you so much.
On the program.
Nice being here.
All right, that's the show this morning. Many thanks to you at home for watching. Join us again on Wednesday, where we'll be treating another topic entirely. Till then, enjoy the rest of your day, and bye for now.